Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. More announcements yesterday from the Trump transition team as the Trump administration 2.0 takes shape. One of the more important announcements is who will lead the newly created Department of Government Efficiency. It's an initiative that President Trump says will change how our federal government looks, and this comes none too soon. Democrats are still not believing that Kamala Harris's failed presidential campaign spent more than $1 billion in just 3 months. Continued scrutiny of how this massive amount of money was spent is leaving the political world shaking their heads in disbelief. Are we about to see a shakeup among the national television networks? Following the Trump landslide victory, major networks are taking a look at their operations and trying to win viewers back.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
More announcements yesterday from the Trump transition team. One of the most surprising, or more surprising, I guess, Fox News host Pete Hegseth has been selected by President-elect Trump to serve as his Secretary of Defense. The Fox News host said his last day with Fox was yesterday. He was the host of Sunday's Fox and Friends Weekend, among other special assignments. John Ratcliffe, who served as President-elect Trump's principal intelligence advisor during his first term, will serve as the Director of Central Intelligence when Trump moves back into the White House come January. Ratcliffe is one of several appointees announced in the past week who will fill key positions during this second term. Trump said in a statement, from exposing fake Russian collusion to be a Clinton campaign operation to catching the FBI's abuse of civil liberties at the FISA court, John Ratcliffe has always been a warrior for truth and honesty with the American public. With 51 intelligence officials were lying about Hunter Biden's laptop, there was one, John Ratcliffe, telling the truth to the American people. Trump honored Ratcliffe in 2020 with the National Security Medal, the highest honor for distinguished achievement in the field of intelligence and national security. Ratcliffe previously served under Trump as Director of National Intelligence, and before that, he served in Congress for over 5 years as U.S. Representative for the 4th Congressional District from Texas. Also yesterday, Mike Huckabee was named Israeli ambassador. Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas, is a staunch supporter of Israel, prompted by his evangelical faith. In a statement, the Trump administration said Mike has been a great public servant, governor, and leader in the faith for many years. He loves Israel and the people of Israel, and likewise, the people of Israel love him. Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas, is a staunch supporter of that country. And Trump has also announced that tech billionaire Elon Musk and former GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy will head the newly created Department of Government Efficiency. The pair are tasked with overhauling the U.S. government, aiming to eliminate bureaucracy / regulations, cut wasteful spending, and restructure federal agencies. Now, folks, this is going to be the agency to watch, to see what Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy can do with our federal government is going to be amazing. I can promise you there'll be some excitement. There'll be plenty of talk about this agency in the next couple of years. And just to review over the past week since the election day, and look, Trump has wasted no time of naming who his team is going to be. Of course, as a quick review, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, United Nations Ambassador Elise Stefanik, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, Middle East Envoy Stephen Witkoff, White House Counsel William McGinley, CIA Director, as I said a minute ago, John Ratcliffe, and, of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and the border czar Tom Homan. And that's going to be another one to watch as well. Trump will meet with President Biden tomorrow at the White House. Fox News senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy asked White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre if Joe Biden will ask Trump to pardon his son, Hunter. Here's the exchange.
President Biden says that he's not going to pardon his son, Hunter. Is he going to ask Donald Trump to do that?
I don't have anything else to share about that. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole on this. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question.
And we know that at some point during the last Trump transition, then President Obama warned Trump that the biggest threat to the U.S. at the time was North Korea. Is President Biden going to run through what he sees the biggest threats to the country are with Donald Trump?
I am not going to get into a specific agenda of what they're going to discuss. And this is very much to the question that I got from MJ. What does the president what's the message he wants to send tomorrow? And it is to the American people. The importance of keeping the norms, the importance of having a transition that is going to be efficient. This is what the American people deserve. And that's the message. And I think when you all come into the Oval Office tomorrow, you do the pool spray, you capture that moment, that is an important message to send to the American people. That's what the president cares about. I'm not going to get into details about any conversation or agenda.
And we know that today, a week after the election, President Biden and Vice President Harris had a private lunch. How awkward was that?
I don't even understand. Why would it be awkward?
Because
why would it
the president
be
got squeezed out for her,
you?
and then she kept him at arm's length, and then she lost, and now she's back.
Why would you characterize it as awkward? They have regular lunches. They meet and talk regularly. Why would you call it awkward?
So there's no weirdness about the way that things have unfolded since
Did you
the
see
last
them?
paper.
Did you see them together yesterday as well when they honored our veterans and were together during the day, making sure that we didn't forget the brave men and women that fought for this country? Did you see them together yesterday? Did you see the show of force together? This is. I'm not even going to take the premise of the question. What I will say is the president and the vice president had lunch today. They've had lunch many times. They communicate with each other regularly. They had an opportunity to discuss the last 70 days or so of this administration, how important it is to get things done for the American people. And that's their focus. That is genuinely their focus.
She's not going to answer, is she? She never does. Now, many of you are concerned about so many members of the U.S. House and the Senate who are being considered for cabinet posts and what will happen with their current seats in Congress. And will it affect our majorities? President-elect Trump is expected, as I mentioned, to nominate GOP Senator Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Rubio was reelected in 2022 to serve another 6-year term in the Senate, which means that Governor Ron DeSantis will have to replace him. Now, this is what will happen in most of these instances. So let's use Marco Rubio as an example. Again, he was reelected in 2022 to serve 6 years, which means that Governor DeSantis' choice to replace him, and Ron DeSantis will be able to appoint someone to serve the remainder of his term until a special election can be held in 2026. That would determine who serves Rubio's seats for the last 2 years of his term. So whoever DeSantis appoints will serve until 2026. There'll be a special election. That person will be elected to serve the final 2 years until 2028, and then they can run for a normal term, a 6-year term after that. So don't be concerned, because we'll be able to maintain these seats. The only question could potentially be Elise Stefanik, because, as you know, she serves in the House from the state of New York. And Kathy Hochul is a Democrat. Now, it is expected in most cases like this, a governor is expected to appoint, if there's a Republican in the seat, they're expected to appoint a Republican. I don't know that there's anything that says she has to, but I would suspect under the circumstances, I don't know that she wants to take the heat to do anything but that. Some of the others who are said to be at the top of the list of Ron DeSantis, who could potentially serve the rest of Marco Rubio's term, is Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody. And boy, she is something else. I met her at the RNC back in the summer. U.S. District Judge Roy Altman, DeSantis' own chief of staff, James Uthmeyer. And here's an interesting one. There's a movement to encourage DeSantis to appoint Republican National Committee co-chair Laura Trump. Some are saying that she would make a wonderful U.S. senator. Now, she doesn't live in Florida. As far as I know, she is a citizen of North Carolina. She's from North Carolina. But look, that never stops people, or never has in the past. Remember how Hillary Clinton suddenly became a citizen of New York when it became opportune for her to run for the Senate there? Some of the others, Florida Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez and former Florida House Speaker Jose Oliva. So we'll have a Republican there, as we will in some of these other seats. So don't worry about that. Trump is he wants the best people in his administration, and we'll worry about getting their replacements after that. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD Weight Loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD Weight Loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part? PhD Weight Loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD Weight Loss Program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. By the way, one more thing before we move on from the appointments to the Trump administration. For once, the ladies on The View seem to agree with something that Donald Trump has done. Yesterday, co-host of The View praised President-elect Trump for his likely appointment of Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State and Representative Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor. Here's the exchange.
Marco is qualified. He's been on foreign relations in the Senate for many years. I'm happy because he knows Latin America, which for me is a region that's often forgotten. He speaks Spanish. He knows who these leaders are. He knows what the issues are. I think he's going to come in hot on places like Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua, which I care about enormously. I'm surprised by the appointment because he and I agree on foreign policy, and I think he's considered a foreign policy hawk.
In the choice of both Marco Rubio for Secretary of State and also Congressman Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor, you are hearing a sigh of relief from America's allies abroad. These are two people who are qualified. They are credentialed, and I would add Mike Waltz is a Green Beret. He served in combat. He's served our nation, so he's also not just opining as somebody who is in academia. These are people who know who America's enemies are, Russia, China, and Iran, and they know who our allies are, and I think they are good choices.
He may, but my point is he came out of the gates making some names, and what we're seeing, and this is not my area of expertise, but in all of what I'm hearing from all of you, but also what I'm watching and reading is that this is a more moderate version than people expected him to do in this second term.
Oh, just wait, Sarah, it's coming. What I would say about this cabinet is, unlike 2016, everybody that he's appointed so far has government experience.
Yeah.
Wow. So you heard it here first. The ladies on The View have given their stamp of approval so far for Trump appointees. Wow. Democrats are still just not believing. They're still in denial that Kamala Harris just really messed this whole opportunity up. They still can't believe that her failed campaign spent more than $1 billion in just 3 months, highlighted by several expenditures that have drawn intense criticism, including spending on celebrity influencers, radical activist groups, and private jets. FEC filings show that the Harris campaign made two $500,000 payments to Oprah Winfrey's production company. We talked about that yesterday now because the Washington Examiner reported on it. Oprah claims she did not receive any of that money, that these were production costs that her company paid, but that none of it came to her. Conservatives on social media have been very critical, accusing Harris of buying the famous endorsements that ultimately didn't yield any victory. GOP Representative Greg Murphy posted on X, unconscionable. Oprah, a billionaire, sells her soul for a measly $1 million. Jordan Belfort told Fox News he was shocked when he heard about the campaign contribution and likened the campaign's actions to money laundering. Oprah, when confronted by TMZ, claims she was paid nothing. A Harpo spokesperson acknowledged that Harpo Productions took money from the campaign but claimed it was for production costs and said that, quote, Oprah Winfrey was not at no point during the campaign paid a personal fee, nor did she receive a fee from Harpo. The controversial spending habits of the campaign have come under a lot of scrutiny from within the Democrat Party. Harris' campaign cut multiple six-figure checks in September for left-leaning groups that have been vocal about defunding the police, reparations, and are tied to radical activists who have supported notorious anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan. Organizations like the Black Voters Matter Fund, which received $150,000 from the Harris campaign on September 19th and has repeatedly called for defunding the police and has been vocal about pushing for reparations. The Black Church PAC, which also received $150,000 from the Harris campaign in September, has multiple controversial religious leaders on its board in recent social media posts, so it was partnering with the Defund the Police group to help with Get Out the Vote efforts in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Despite running a campaign warning of the effects of climate change, which he has previously called a threat, Harris gave over $4 million to advanced aviation to fly on private jets. So it's okay when it's for her convenience. She doesn't care about the environment for her jets. The campaign, according to FEC filings, also spent more than $56 million on payroll and payroll taxes in just 3 months. Now, how many people did she have on her payroll to spend $56 million? Filings show that the campaign had in excess of $100 million to various consulting and marketing firms that they paid, including Gambit Strategies LLC, DuPont Circle Strategies, and Bully Pulpit Interactive. The Harris-Walz campaign is reportedly $20 million in debt, having raised more than $1 billion and had $118 million in the bank as of October 16th. This, according to Politico. News of the campaign debt, of course, sparked President-elect Donald Trump to troll the campaign, saying, quote, I'm very surprised that the Democrats who fought a hard and valiant fight in the 2020 presidential election, he meant to say 2024, raising a record amount of money, didn't have lots of money left over. This was on his Truth Social. He said, now they're being squeezed by vendors and others. Whatever we can do to help them during this difficult period, I would strongly recommend we as a party and for the sake of desperately needed unity do, tongue-in-cheek. I don't think Donald Trump's going to be paying any Democrats' debt. He said, we have a lot of money left over since our biggest asset in the campaign was earned media, and that doesn't cost very much. Make America great again. Another person benefiting from this lavish spending was the master of shakedowns. The Harris-Walz campaign funneled over $500,000 to the Reverend Al Sharpton's nonprofit, the National Action Network. This was just prior to Kamala Harris sitting down to a softball interview with the civil rights activist. Now, why would she have to make a donation to his organization just to sit down to be interviewed, I think, on his podcast probably? I mean, who listens to his podcast? This guy is the biggest crook and the biggest shakedown artist ever. I mean, it's just amazing to look at some of these groups, some of these radicals, in the context of payments totaling $5.4 million to various black and Latina activist organizations that the campaign set its sights on trying to galvanize support among those minority voters, they fled quickly. She did not get a very good return on her dollar. Wow. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. One of the most, or I should say, two of the most exciting appointments for me yesterday is that of tech billionaire Elon Musk and former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. They're going to head this newly created Department of Government Efficiency. It's going to be known as DOGE, D-O-G-E. We'll see the overhauling of the U.S. government. Their aim is to eliminate bureaucracy, slash regulations, cut wasteful spending, and just restructure federal agencies in general with hopes of eliminating some of them. I would suspect that the Department of Education has a bullseye on it right now. President Trump described the initiative as potentially the Manhattan Project of our time and emphasized that it would bring about large-scale structural reform to create a more entrepreneurial approach to government. And boy, he's got two good men to do that. The department's mission is to reduce inefficiency and the waste that we know is within our government in that $6.5 trillion budget, ultimately making the federal government more accountable to you and me, to the taxpayer, the people who are writing the checks to pay the bills. Trump said that the department's work could culminate by July 4th, 2026, aligning with the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, delivering a government that is smaller, more efficient, and less bureaucratic. And I hope there's no agency off the table for this. This is what we need. We need two men like this to look at our government and pretend they're running it like they run their businesses. And there's no sacred cows. Ramaswamy, a big-time Trump supporter, after he suspended his campaign, he got behind Trump. He expressed his excitement in a post on social media, writing, "We will not go gently, Elon Musk." Musk, in turn, responded with a playful jab, saying his focus was fighting bureaucracy, not democracy. Both say that they played crucial roles in the Trump's campaign, with Musk actively supporting Trump in the key battleground states in the final weeks of the campaign. Now, this comes none too soon, as we learn that the Health and Human Services Department employs 294 people whose jobs focus on diversity, and the department maintains 7 minority health offices spread across its agencies, according to a report that suggests unwinding it may be tough. But I bet that it won't be too tough for Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. The majority of the staffers, according to the Washington Times, 182 workers, are paid 6-figure salaries. The top diversity job earner, who works at the Food and Drug Administration, is paid $221,000, according to Open the Books in a report they released yesterday. This watchdog group said that spending on the diversity, equity, inclusion agenda permeated the department, appearing 829 times in its 2025 budget and totaling hundreds of millions of dollars in direct spending. And the Democrats wonder why they lost so badly last week, because the American people are sick of this type of crap. Spending this kind of money on diversity, on equity, and inclusion. Hiring people, paying them $200,000 to be a diversity officer. That's what's wrong with our government. And people are sick and tired of it. And I believe we're going to see the Trump administration finally do something about it. Among the costs that appeared in their budget, listen to this now. Vaccine programs explicitly aimed at gay black men. Money earmarked for opioid programs that vowed to tackle systemic racism. A $5 million proposal to diversify the doula workforce, and $5,000 to pay for an appearance by Ibram X. Kendi, a leading anti-racism voice. A doula, if you don't know, is a person who provides support for people undergoing significant health-related experiences such as childbirth. Can you believe this? That this kind of stuff goes on in our federal government? And the Biden-Harris administration thinks it's normal, thinks it's a great thing. DEI backers say that the approach to government advances important missions by focusing money and attention on specific communities that need help. So we give them a job. Doesn't mention whether or not they're qualified to do the job. Doesn't mention if they can contribute to the mission of our government. It's just because they fall into one of these groups, they're paid. Open the Book said that every dollar spent on equity in HHS's bureaucracy is money that doesn't go to health. That's a good point, isn't it? Spending millions of dollars on diversity agents rather than benefiting people directly. It also ends up justifying other bad policies, John Hart said, head of the Open Books. He said, DEI at HHS is concierge Marxism. Academia is delivering a boutique and racially charged permission structure that helps bureaucrats feel morally innocent about imposing top-down command and control policies that can disproportionately harm low-income Americans. HHS is one of the largest federal departments in terms of budget, has more than 80,000 employees across more than a dozen divisions. Open the Book says that HHS's focus on DEI sprang from President Biden's demand for a whole-of-government approach to advance the issue. I mean, this has all happened during Joe Biden. These are new positions created by the Biden-Harris administration. And this is why it is so important that we won this election 2 weeks ago, because Kamala Harris would have just continued this, plus expanded it. According to Open the Books, their study found that 92 DEI employees are working under Secretary Xavier Becerra at HHS. 92 DEI employees. More than 200 others were spread among various agencies. The FDA alone had 3 DEI-related divisions, one for diversity management, a diversity working group, and a DEI excellence center. I mean, I read this and I just can't believe this is happening. The incoming Trump administration, of course, has chided the Biden team for its focus on DEI, and I can promise you they'll reverse this. They'll find a way to eliminate this, as they should. Officials at the National Health Institute, this is Dr. Fauci's old organization, invited this Mr. Kendi to make a virtual appearance in 2022. He read from his bestseller, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And NIH gave staffers free access to the tome in the ebook or audiobook format. Our federal government used our hard-earned tax dollars to pay this lunatic to read from his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. This is happening in a federal agency. One of the stipulations written into a contract document was that the appearance be available only to NIH staff, encrypted so it couldn't be downloaded and expunged from the website after 30 days. So actually, they were ashamed of it. They knew it was wrong, and they didn't want anybody to be able to get access to it after they forced these employees to view it. Sponsors shall use the recording only for the following purposes and for no other purpose whatsoever, the agreement read. The recording must be removed on 10/27/22. The recording must be encrypted so it cannot be copied or downloaded. It is sponsor's sole responsibility to ensure that appropriate web security measures are in place. The contract documents also made clear that employees would be offered a link to buy Mr. Kendi's books. So basically, we paid him to promote his book, and I'm sure we bought many copies of it. One email obtained by Open the Books through its open records request was from an employee complaining that the video was no longer available. The staffer wrote, "This is very disappointing." In response to the open records request, NIH seemed to justify the odd arrangement with Mr. Kendi and the expungement of the video as privileged commercial or financial information. No, I'll tell you what it was. It was a bunch of lunatics in a federal agency spending somebody else's money to promote their causes. Open the Book said a large part of the DEI spending is attributable to the minority health offices. The 42-member minority health office at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention began in 2021 to push medical researchers to incorporate inclusion, accessibility, and belonging into their work. The CDC also has promoted vaccine equity with pushes to inoculate black Americans, particularly the monkeypox vaccine for black men who have sex with men. Open the Book said that the details of that program have been scrubbed from the CDC website. Again, they're ashamed of it. They know it's wrong, and so now they don't want you and me to be able to see it now that it's been called attention to. Open the Book said agencies usually separate their equal employment opportunity efforts from their equity efforts, and for a good reason. The former aims to ensure fair treatment in the workplace, while the latter promotes particular diverse populations. For most of HHS, the two roles are tied in the same office, according to the analyst. Again, I just, when I read this kind of stuff, we knew it was happening. We knew that the Biden-Harris administration had just gone nuts forcing DEI on federal agencies. And this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. This is just one particular agency that this Open the Books has had the time to dig into. I would bet that if you go to all the other agencies, Department of State, Department of Justice, Department of Treasury, and certainly Department of Education, I'll bet you're going to find the same thing. They have fleeced us of probably billions of dollars, all in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's time that all of that is erased from our government. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com. dawpickens.com. We'll get to some text messages in just a moment. First, out of Louisiana, a federal judge yesterday temporarily blocked a state law that would require classrooms in Louisiana to post the 10 Commandments starting in January. The injunction halts the legislation from being enforced while the litigation continues to play out in the courts. U.S. District Judge John DeGravis said in his order that the law is unconstitutional and has a mostly religious purpose, saying it, quote, fails to comply with the Establishment Clause analysis. He's an Obama appointee. He rejected the claim that the Ten Commandments displays were meant to teach about its historical significance, saying other documents were not required to be on display. The judge wrote, any purported secular purpose was not sincere, but rather a sham. HB 71 is plainly religious in nature, he said. Now, Louisiana Attorney General Elizabeth Murrow is a Republican, told the Associated Press she would appeal the ruling. Also, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, a Republican as well, supports the law. The Attorney General said, we strongly disagree with the court's decision and will immediately appeal. According to Ms. Murrow's office, the ruling only binds 5 of the state school boards. An appeal will go to the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, the most conservative appeals court in the country. The lawsuit was brought by a group of parents who challenged the legislation as running afoul of the First Amendment bar on the establishment of religion and likely discriminating against non-Christian students. HB 71 was passed in June by the Republican-controlled state legislature. It requires all K through 12 public schools to display a poster of the Ten Commandments, requiring the size to be at least 11 inches by 14 inches. State-funded universities also are required to post the Ten Commandments as well. Other proposals in recent years by states to require the Ten Commandments have similarly been displayed, have not done very well in the courts. For example, proposals in Texas, Utah, and Oklahoma were threatened with legal action. The Supreme Court ruled back in 1980 that a law out of Kentucky similar to Louisiana's requirement violated the First Amendment Establishment Clause, reasoning that the law has no secular purpose. The judge in Louisiana this week ruled that this precedent is still good law. One of the plaintiffs in the case, Reverend Darcy Rourke. Now, why would anybody with Reverend in front of their name object to this type of law? Anyway, she said, HB 71 is a direct infringement of our religious freedom rights, and we're pleased and relieved that the court ruled in our favor. As an interfaith family, we expect our children to receive their secular education in public school and their religious education at home and within our faith community, not from government officials. Heather Weaver, who is an attorney with the ACLU's program on freedom of religion and belief, said that the ruling should serve as a, quote, reality check. She said public schools are not Sunday schools, and today's decision ensures that our clients' classrooms will remain spaces where all students, regardless of their faith, feel welcomed. President-elect Donald Trump has supported Louisiana's law. Earlier this year, he posted on Truth Social, I love the Ten Commandments in public schools, private schools, and many other places for that matter. Read it. How can we as a nation go wrong? You know what I don't understand is why don't they just place it in the school anyway? Forget about this judge. What's the judge going to do? Why can't the local schools and the families in those local schools just go ahead and post it? Just put it in front. All right, to our text line. Ray says, good morning, Joey. I can't stop smiling over the election. I do have some questions. We are at 218 seats in the House. If Stefanik and Waltz move to cabinet positions, do we drop to 216 and lose control? Another question is, if President Trump were to become incapacitated before January 6th, would J.D. Vance become president-elect and be sworn in on January 20th? Don't forget, we know you'll come through with the answers. Well, on the question of the House, losing control of the House, I answered that a little bit earlier in the show today, but no, these seats that'll be vacated once these folks are approved by the U.S. Senate, they'll be appointed by their governor. And in most cases, and again, Stefanik is a question because she comes from a Democrat state, but generally speaking, the governor, if a Republican has a seat, the governor appoints a governor. In Representative Waltz's case, of course, he's in Florida, and Governor Ron DeSantis has already pledged. He has a list of Republicans who will take their places. So that was a long answer to a pretty simple question. Don't worry. we will be able to maintain those seats and maintain that majority. And if something were to happen to President Trump, he is the president-elect. J.D. Vance is the vice president-elect, and we would go through the normal succession rate here, the normal process. We pray, of course, that doesn't happen. Jeff writes, I don't think Congress should be able to vote in private. I think we should vote who's the House Speaker and who is the Senate leader. Well, Jeff, I can't argue with you. It's been done like this since the beginning of Congress. The choosing their leadership, choosing the House Speaker. It's always been closed-door meetings that do this. But you're right. I wouldn't object to it being done in the open. Texter says the people to be removed are illegal immigrants. Illegal meaning forbidden by law, a criminal act. It is not a racial matter because their country of origin is not the issue. The law was broken. America has never been against immigration if it is done lawfully. A country without secure borders and laws to protect them is no country at all. Without these, it is a land open to invasion and staged to be conquered. It is time to make America great again. Thank you. Appreciate that. Texter says, good morning, Joey. The only thing inhumane about the illegals is that the Biden administration told them it was okay for them to enter the United States illegally. I enjoy your show. Thank you. Appreciate you listening. Roger says, Joey, I heard that some colleges were calling classes off because of the election, allowing them time to gather their thoughts. Send these illegals home. Get them out of here. Yeah, it has been interesting. Did you hear what was it, Harvard or one of the Ivy Leagues who claimed that they were giving them chocolate milk and crayons? These are grown men and women. Texter, good morning, Joey. Massive deportation is needed desperately. As I'm blue collar and they have literally saturated my trade, this making a citizen as myself struggle. Not so much the American dream at the moment. Well, that's going to come back. Appreciate your text. Texter, the only politicians that are having PTSD or anxiety are the swamp creatures. DSS should be gutted nationwide. 330,000 children missing. Really? Gaston County wants dysfunctional children. They will have children and they get $150,000 for each child they take into custody. Look, there's certainly issues with DSS around the country, or whatever the programs are called in other states. Texter, good morning. I must ask, with illegal aliens, why aren't we taking more often about? Why aren't we talking more often about what it costs the government every year? Most sources say it's around $150 billion a year. Well, that's what basically what Tom Homan said the other day, is that, yes, it's going to be expensive to deport them, but not as expensive as it will be to take care of them for years to come. Texter says, Joey, these people have lost touch with America a long time ago. Arrest these illegals and send them home. I think Tom Homan will take care of it. Yep, I think he will too. Ginger says, hey, Joey, as so many of us continue riding the victory wave, and we truly are, part of the high is realizing that we, the people, did this. Patriotic Americans all over the country voted their values, and it felt like a homecoming. We, the people, stood up and took our citizenship privileges and duties seriously. We voted, and we won. Appreciate your comment as well. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.